Hello and a very good evening to all the MBA aspirants. This is Sheetal and you are watching Hitbullseye. So I hope your MBA preparations are going well, and to further aid it, we are live again on yet another topic from English section, or let's say VARC section, VARC section of your CAT exam. So this video is not just relevant for CAT exam but also for other MBA entrance exams also. So without any further delay, let's begin. The topic for today is sentence rearrangement and its relevance in MBA entrance exams. So we know this particular section, this particular area of verbal ability and reading comprehension section is problematic, or let's say confusing for many people. It perplexes us, it confuses us as to what sentence rearrangement actually is and should we go for these questions or not. So though there is negative marking in CAT exam, but these questions are known as TETA questions that do not carry negative marks. So this is known as TETA question is type in typable answers. So again, on the one hand, this is beneficial for you in exams like CAT when there is no negative marking for these questions. Students definitely go for them. But then again, they even put a trap for you. Students, those who tend to waste a lot of their time on these questions just to get those extra marks, often lose it in somewhere else by not being able to manage time properly. So let's see what sentence rearrangement or para-jumble is, and let's try to see what kind of questions do we see in exams. First of all, introduction to sentence rearrangement. So we will see common question types in test. So questions can be like sentences are not in right order, put them in right order, or rearrange the sentences so that they logically make sense. So what is sentence rearrangement? It's simply that you will be given 4 to 5 sentences. They'll be put in a random order and you'll have to arrange them in a particular order to make a cohesive paragraph, a paragraph that is meaningful, that is in the right order. So language of question can be different, forms of question can be different, but more or less you'll have to rearrange the sentences. So now again, there will be different types of question from this area, and we will even see them in the slides also, but let's quickly discuss them. So first type is you will be given 4 to 5 sentences and you'll have to arrange them. You might be given MCQs, you might not be given MCQs. If MCQs are not there, that will be known as TETA questions. Otherwise, if MCQs are there, in that case, this particular area becomes easy, because if you've guessed the opening line, or let's say the last line, or you found out some prominent pair in those lines, you can easily eliminate the options that do not have that particular order that you have in your mind. But when there are no options given, definitely this becomes time consuming, because unlike quant and DI, English questions tend to be subjective, as in at that point of time we never know how your mind is gonna work, how you'll convince yourself that okay, this is the opening line, this is the closing line. So the whole idea is, if you are going for those TETA question to gain those extra marks and you are not worried about that, okay, this doesn't have negative marking, so I should definitely devote my time to it. In that case, what I suggest you is be very judicious with your time management, because just to gain those extra 2 marks, you are losing the other marks somewhere else where you must have gained, right? So if you want to go for TETA question, you should definitely go, but again, keep it in time constraint. So then again, just like critical reasoning, just like passages given to you in different exams in English section, this particular portion also requires your knowledge of diverse topics. So just as critical reasoning, SR can also be based on different areas, on different subjects. So there can be sentences from anthropology, sociology, biology, politics, history, commerce, technology. So there can be a number of areas, and if you want to have that understanding of each and every area, that particular jargon of each area, it becomes very important that you start reading from now onwards, and again reading from diverse topics, diverse areas. So relevance in test. What is the relevance of this section, this area? Tests like CAT and other MBA entrance exam or entrance tests have questions based on sentence rearrangement or para jumbles or para completions or even misfit questions. So CAT, SNAP, IIFT and ZAT, they have questions ranging from 3 to 6 each. CAT and ZAT have advanced level question. So level of difficulty is relatively high in CAT and ZAT, and in other non-CAT exam it's still easier. So if we talk about particularly CAT, in CAT you get theta questions from this particular area, that is questions without options, right? So what are the skills required for sentence rearrangement? First of all, you need to develop the ability to read and comprehend articles on diverse topics. So how are you going to decide which line should come first? How do I arrange them in a proper order? Only if you have read enough, only if you have noticed enough while reading those editorials or those articles, only then you would possess that ability, that logical reasoning to understand them, to put them in a particular order. So reading from diverse topic, comprehending subjects or comprehending passages or sentences on different topic is important. Second is ability to understand the flow of thought in the sentences. Now obviously any author or writer, if he writes a story or he writes a passage, there is a flow of thought in it, right? So certain things come at first. Let's say he introduces a topic at first and then states its causes or reasons for that problem, right? So there'll be a particular order. You'll have to identify that order, that flow of thought of author, what it would have been while he was writing. So you will guess that and it will become easy for you to arrange them in an order. Ability to connect the stream of ideas, it's more or less the same. Again, if you are given 4 sentences and you are perfectly understanding what idea is suggested in each line, you will be better able to make pairs. You will be able to connect stream of ideas. Regular practice is key to ace this particular area of your VARC section. So types of question, as we've already discussed, are with MCQs, in which you are given 4 options, and without MCQs, which is theta question, in which there is no option. Now again, if we talk about theta question, there can be 2 types of question. First one is all the sentences will be put in a random order, you will have to arrange them. And the second type is the opening and the closing line will be given to you and you will have to arrange the remaining 4 sentences in between them. So these are 2 types of questions that you can have in your MBA entrance exams. So if we have a look at theta question, which we've already discussed, but now we're going to see it with this angle. So you have this particular sentence rearrangement question in which you are given 5 questions. So you'll have to read them, you'll have to understand them, and again you'll be given a box here in the exam, in your CAT exam, in which you have to put the right order. So there are no options to aid you whatsoever. You'll have to read them, you'll have to understand the flow of thought, the stream of ideas is something that you will have to connect, you'll have to make pairs, you'll have to guess the opening and the closing line. So you see, though they look alluring as in, because there is no negative marking, but they can waste your lot of time. So next type of question is where you have, so next type of question is again, you are given a box here, you can read the question and then write the proper order. So let's see if you can guess this one. Take your time, read all the sentences and try to guess the right order. So if you can see here, as I was discussing the second type of question, where the opening line, which is 1, and the closing line, which is 2, will be fixed. Yeah, so the opening line and the closing line is fixed. You have other 4 sentences. You have to guess the right order. Let's read them together and try to guess the right order. The first sentence is, India's experience of industrialization is characteristic of the difficulties faced by a newly independent developing country. So this is the opening line, which is introducing you the main idea, the subject we are talking about, which is India's experience with industrialization, right? And the difficulties we faced once our country was independent, the kind of difficulties we faced. So what should be the first step in such type of question? We'll read the 4 sentences and we'll see what sentence gels well with this first sentence, because now we are sure of the first. Let's see what can be the second one. So in 1947, India was undoubtedly an underdeveloped country with one of the lowest per capita incomes in the world. And if you see the next one, Indian industrialization was the result of a conscious, deliberate policy of growth by ingenious political elite. So any idea what can be the second line? Next is, today India ranks 5th in the International Committee of Nations if measured in terms of purchasing power. So if you see the logic, which is very evident here, first of all, it's the difficulty India faced at the time of its independence is mentioned, and logically what should be the thing that should follow it? The present day scenario. We talked about the scenario when India just gained independence, and now the logical sequence states that the next line should be talking about the today's scenario. So I've guessed the first for you, 1 and C. Let's see if you can guess the next one. So you have some time of, like, let's say 30 seconds, and let's see if you can answer it. Drop your answers in the chat box. Yes, guys, let's see who's gonna be the first one to answer this question. All right, so let's see it again. So if we look at the A sentence, that is, in 1947, India was undoubtedly an underdeveloped country with one of the lowest per capita incomes in the world. So in the first line, it is mentioned that India after the independence faced difficulties when it was experiencing industrialization. So logically, A should be the next line actually, right? So the order should be 1 and A. Now let's read the rest of them and try to guess the right order. So in 1947, India was undoubtedly an underdeveloped country. So we are given the scenario, the picture of 1947. Now let's see what is the picture today. So therefore, this becomes logically the third sentence. Today, India ranks 5th in the International Committee of Nations if measured in terms of purchasing power. Right? First we talked about 1947. Now we are talking about the present date scenario. So this is how you have to guess the sequence in sentence rearrangement. Right, so let's see the remaining ones. So Indian industrialization was the result of a conscious, deliberate policy of growth by ingenious political elite is the first line, and D is, even today, however, the benefits of Indian industrialization since independence have not reached the masses. So if we are not able to guess the next one, that is the fourth sentence, what we can do is we can relate the second last sentence with the last sentence, which we know is a conclusion. So what is the conclusion? Industrialization in India has thus been a limited success, one more example of growth without development. This is the concluding sentence. Ideally, if you see, D is preceding it. Even today, however, the benefits of Indian industrialization since independence have not reached the masses. So first this thing is mentioned, and then it has been exemplified by the conclusion. Yes, so now D becomes the second last, so we are just left with B. So this is how you can guess the right order. Yes, so you'll have to understand the flow of the thought. So if he initially is in the first line, he is introducing us with the issue, the subject, the area we are talking about. Then they've talked about the year 1947, and now logically they should be talking about the present scenario. In the last line they are stating the pathetic condition or the reasons why this is happening, and the last line is again conclusion, which is already given to you. So this is another form that I was talking about. Let's now see the next question. So if you have a doubt in this, you feel free to pause the video, read it again, and you'll see the sequence in it. So again, the options have been given to you. So now introductory sentence. Introductory sentence introduces the idea or the theme of the paragraph. So it is of utmost importance that first of all you guess the introductory sentence, and then logically you'll be more able to guess the following sentences. So the introductory sentence introduces you to the idea or the theme of the paragraph. It is an independent sentence. So as in when you read that sentence, which seems complete in its meaning, which seems as if nothing is preceding it, it is not dependent upon any other line to make complete sense, it is independent sentence. In that case, there is high probability that particular sentence will be an opening sentence. So it may have subject or noun of the theme, central idea present. Now again, so if a person is introduced to you in particular sentence rearrangement question, the opening line is going to name that person or that place, anything we are talking about. The proper noun will be mentioned in the first sentence, and maybe pronouns will be used for it in the remaining sentences. This is another idea to guess the introductory sentence. So it may talk of a general idea or may written in a generalized way. It may be written in a generalized way or may talk of a general idea. As in, obviously, if we are starting a conversation, if an author is writing about something, the opening line is going to be in a general sense, as in he's introducing something, he's stating something, and then he goes on to state reasons for it, causes of it, right? So let's see if you can guess the opening sentence of this particular example. Yes, guys. So the first sentence is, when born to parents of different races or nationalities, or when born in one country, reared in another, and finally settled in a third, one cannot give a simple answer to the question of racial or national identity. So by now we know we are talking about people who are born in a country which is other than their native country, and then after being born in a particular country they are reared in another country. So for them, nationality or racial identity becomes difficult. The second is, the question of one's identity is at the same time a simple and very complex issue. So if you can notice in this particular sentence, this sounds generalized, right? So the question of one's identity is at the same time a simple and very complex issue, is one to be identified by one's race, nationality, gender, place of birth, place of death, place of longest residence, occupation, class, relationships to others, personality traits, size, age, interest, religion, astrological sign, salary, by how one perceives oneself, by how one is perceived by the others. So if you can notice this, though this also sounded like the opening line, this also is sounding like the opening line, but here just two issues were addressed. It was racial and national identity. But in this line, if you can see, the thing is being talked that how people get confused about their identity, how it becomes difficult for them to identify themselves because of different reasons. It can be occupation, class, interest, religion, age, size, traits. So this is a general sentence which is first of all telling us different reasons why it becomes difficult for people to identify themselves, to know their true identity, and then it moves to a specific idea. So from a generalized idea to a specific idea. That's how we guess the first and the second line. So this is the first line. So if you see the last one, when one is born female in a world dominated by males of two different races, further complication ensue. So this trigger word, this keyword further states that there is something, there is some sentence preceding it, and that is the reason we are using this word further. So whenever we use this word further, obviously we are adding some additional information to something that has already been stated. So this is our first sentence. The right order should be 2, 1 and 3. So this is how you can guess. So if you get difficult in the upper two choices, the idea is, first of all, general things are being talked about, and then we are moving to the particular thing that we will proceed in the passage, right? So that is how you can attempt questions based on sentence rearrangement, or let's say misfit, or para completion, or para jumbles. So in today's live, we've just talked about TETA questions and MCQ questions based on sentence rearrangement or para jumble. So we will also come live with another topic related to this, which is para completions or finding the misfits, right? So that is all for today. By now I believe you must have guessed how to identify the introductory line. So I believe this will help you, and I believe if you like the video, you will watch the next live also, because that is also going to be highly informational. We will be talking about para completions. In that we will be talking about how to identify the closing line. So here we talked about the opening line. In the next live we will be talking about the closing line also. So if you want to stay tuned with more such updates, keep watching Hitbullseye, and if you like the video, do not forget to like, share and subscribe it. Thank you.